I thought my story ended the day I buried the woman I loved, but life had other plans. I was just a broken dad, holding on for my little girl, until fate put Lena back in front of me. Old scars, impossible choices, and a chance at love I never believed I deserved. Do you believe in second chances, in love finding its way back when you least expect it? If yes, like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Dad, you burned the toast again. Emma's voice carried from the kitchen table, half laugh, half complaint. I pulled the blackened bread from the toaster and sighed. It's not burned. It's extra crispy. Chef special. She wrinkled her nose at me. You always say that. I always mean it, I replied. Sliding the toast onto her plate beside the scrambled eggs, I managed not to ruin. Eat up. We're running late. Emma poked at the toast with her fork. Can I just have cereal instead? No, I said quickly, waving the fork in her hand back toward the eggs. Real food first. Cereal for emergencies. She looked at me with those wide hazel eyes. Her mother's eyes. The same eyes that could undo every ounce of discipline I tried to muster. But this is an emergency. I couldn't help but laugh, even as my chest tightened with that familiar ache. Emma had no idea how often every day felt like an emergency to me. I leaned against the counter, rubbing the back of my neck. Am I doing this right? Am I enough? Those questions stalked me every morning like shadows. Fine, I said at last, pouring her a small bowl of cereal. But only because we're late. Emma grinned in triumph and dug in. 10 minutes later, we were a storm of backpacks, shoes, and tangled hair at the front door. Dad, my math book. Check your bag, front pocket. She zipped it open, relief flashing across her face. Got it. I tied her shoelaces because she still rushed through them, and I didn't trust the knots to survive the walk. She tugged on her little pink jacket, while I searched for my keys under the pile of unopened mail. This house eats keys, I muttered. They're on the couch. Emma shouted. She was right. Of course. We finally spilled out the door into the brisk morning air. I held her hand tight as we hurried down the street. She skipped beside me, completely unbothered by my constant rush. At the school gate, she stopped, tugging at my sleeve. Dad. Yeah. Are you happy? Her question hit harder than any punch I'd ever taken. I crouched down so we were eye level. Why do you ask that? You don't laugh as much as the other dads. I forced a smile. I laugh plenty. She tilted her head. Not like before. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I'm happy when I'm with you, Emma. That's enough for me. She studied my face for a second, then nodded as if satisfied. She kissed my cheek and ran inside, waving before disappearing into the crowd. I stood there long after she was gone, my chest aching. Not like before. No, nothing had been like before since the accident. 3 years, and still, every time I opened the closet and saw her clothes, it felt like being stabbed all over again. I told myself I had healed. That Emma was my reason. That grief no longer owned me. But the truth was, I carried it everywhere, hidden under burnt toast, lost keys, fake smiles. That night, as I tucked him into bed, she pulled the blanket to her chin. Dad, don't forget, tomorrow's the parent-teacher meeting. I froze, halfway through smoothing her pillow. That's tomorrow? Uh-huh, she said, yawning. You promised you'd come. I did. She gave me a look that told me lying was useless. Yes. Right, I said, forcing cheer into my voice. Wouldn't miss it. Her eyes drooped shut, but her hand found mine. Thanks, Dad. I sat there in the dim glow of her nightlight, listening to her steady breaths, my own chest heavy. I hated parent-teacher meetings. They always felt like a spotlight shining on my failures. Every other parent showed up with 2 people, Mom and Dad, while Emma only had me, just me, and tomorrow would be no different. Still, for her, I'd go. Always. I brushed a strand of hair from her forehead and whispered, "Good night, Em." As I switched off the light and walked out, I told myself it was just another meeting. Nothing more. But deep down, I had no idea that tomorrow would change everything. I told myself it was just another meeting. Nothing more. But as I sat in that cramped classroom the next evening, surrounded by other parents chatting quietly in pairs, I felt like an intruder. My chair creaked every time I shifted, and I kept my eyes on Emma's crayon drawings pinned to the walls. My palms were sweating. Get it over with. Smile, nod, leave. The door opened, and every thought in my head shattered. Good evening, everyone, she said, her voice calm, steady. My heart stopped. Lena. The name thundered in my chest, though I didn't say it aloud. She stepped into the room in a navy dress, her hair pulled back neatly, but the moment our eyes met across the tables, I was no longer here. I was 17 again, standing in the rain outside her house, begging her not to leave. I gripped the edge of my chair, so hard my knuckles burned. She didn't flinch, didn't break stride. She smiled at the group of parents, but for the briefest second, only a second, her eyes widened when they landed on me. Dad! Emma's whisper yanked me back. She tugged my sleeve, oblivious to the storm in my chest. That's Ms. Lena. She's my teacher. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I see that. You know her? Her innocent question almost choked me. I used to. Emma beamed. She's really nice. I couldn't find words. My tongue felt thick, my chest tight. When the meeting ended, parents gathered around her, asking about grades and projects. I wanted to leave, to escape before she could speak to me, but Emma was already pulling me forward. Ms. Lena, this is my dad. I froze. Lena's gaze flicked to me. Professional. Calm. But her smile trembled at the corners. Mr. Walker, she said softly, like she was tasting the name. It's been a long time. Yeah. My voice came out rough, awkward. A very long time. Emma looked between us, sensing something. Wait, you two know each other? Lena crouched beside her, brushing a strand of hair from Emma's forehead. Your dad and I went to school together. A long time ago. Emma's eyes went wide. Like high school? Yes, Lena said gently. Emma gasped. That's so cool. I forced a laugh, scratching the back of my neck. Cool, right. But inside, my chest was a war zone. When the crowd thinned, Lena stood a little straighter, her eyes holding mine. How have you been? She asked. Busy. You know, work, raising Emma. She nodded slowly. She's wonderful. Smart, kind. She reminds me of you. That cut deeper than she realized. She reminds me of you too, I want to say, but the word stayed locked inside. Instead, I muttered, You look different. In a good way. Her lips curved slightly. So do you. Silence stretched between us, heavy, thick with old ghosts. Emma broke it with a yawn. Dad, can we go home? I'm sleepy. Yeah, I said quickly, grateful for the excuse. We should go. Lena touched Emma's shoulder lightly. Good night, sweetheart. I'll see you in class tomorrow. Emma hugged her without hesitation, like she'd known her forever. Watching that, something inside me twisted, warmth and fear tangled together. Outside, the night air felt too sharp in my lungs. Emma skipped beside me, holding my hand. She's really nice, Dad. I like her. I know, I murmured. You were blushing, she teased. I was not. Yes, you were, she sang, giggling. I shook my head, forcing a smile, but my mind was far from her playful teasing. My heart hadn't stopped racing since the moment Lena walked through that door. The face I thought I'd never see again. The face I'd tried to forget. And now, she was standing in front of me again, teaching my daughter, smiling like no time had passed. I couldn't decide if it was fate or punishment, but one thing was certain. This wasn't over. The thought clung to me the next few days as Emma skipped into school every morning, calling out, Bye, Dad, before running to her class. I'd stand there, pretending not to glance through the doorway, pretending not to wait for Lena's voice. And every time she was there, Morning, Emma, she'd say warmly, and then her eyes would find mine. Mr. Walker, I always answered too stiffly. Morning. Polite, controlled, safe. But safe didn't stop the memories. One afternoon, as I waited to pick Emma up, Lena walked over with a folder in her hand. She did really well on her spelling test, Lena said, handing me the paper. Emma's handwriting, messy and determined, filled the page. I smiled despite myself. She gets that from her mom. I can barely spell half these words. Lena's smile faltered, just slightly. She must be proud of you. The word struck me wrong, though she meant well. My throat tightened. She's not around anymore. Lena's eyes softened. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I nodded quickly, eager to escape. It's fine. Have a good day. I walked away before she could say more, Emma bouncing beside me. But the echo of her voice followed me home. That night, while Emma colored the kitchen table, she chattered about Ms. Lena. She always tells me I'm smart, and she laughed at my dinosaur joke. Nobody else laughs at it, but she did. I forced a chuckle. What's the joke? Emma grinned. What do you call a sleeping dinosaur? A dino snore. She cracked herself up, and the sound filled the room. I smiled too, but deep inside, something twisted. Why does it matter so much that Lena laughed? Why does it bother me that Emma looks at her like she belongs with us? Later, when Emma finally fell asleep, I sat in the silence of my bedroom. The lamp cast long shadows across the walls, and I stared at the empty side of the bed. 3 years, and I still can't stop looking at that space. Still can't stop imagining her lying there. Still can't let myself believe it's okay to want someone again. I rubbed my hands over my face, whispering to the dark. Am I betraying you if I feel something? Even just a flicker? I swallowed hard, my chest heavy. You'd hate me for it, wouldn't you? Or maybe you'd want me to stop being stuck. The silence gave me no answers, only the sound of my own breath, sharp and unsteady. The next morning, Emma tugged my hand as we walked to school. Dad, guess what? She said, practically bouncing. What? There's a play coming up. Ms. Lena said parents can come. Will you come? I smiled faintly at her excitement. Of course. Wouldn't miss it. And maybe she hesitated, glancing up at me with those wide hazel eyes. Maybe you could sit with Ms. Lena. She said she'll be there. My steps faltered. Why would I sit with her? Emma shrugged. You two talk a lot. I let out a breath, trying not to laugh. We don't talk that much. Yes, you do, she insisted. And you smile funny when you do. I shook my head, looking away, hiding the storm behind my chest. You're imagining things. But I knew she wasn't, because every time Lena spoke to me, even for a moment, the ghosts of what we used to be stirred awake. And I didn't know if I wanted them gone or if I was terrified they'd never leave. Emma's words kept echoing in my head all week. Maybe you could sit with Ms. Lena. I told myself it didn't matter. I was just there for Emma. Nothing else. But when Friday night came, and I sat in the crowded auditorium with the buzz of parents around me, I couldn't stop glancing toward the stage, waiting for Emma's little group to come out, and trying not to notice Lena, standing at the side giving instructions. Dad, do I look okay? Emma whispered, tugging at her paper crown. You look like the best princess the school has ever seen. I whispered back. She giggled, nerves melting away. When the curtain opened, Emma stepped onto stage. My heart swelled, seeing her tiny frame under the bright lights, her voice steady as she delivered her lines. I clapped louder than anyone. And then I saw Lena. She wasn't just a teacher in that moment. She was kneeling by the edge of the stage, giving Emma a little thumbs up. Her eyes shone with pride, as if she was cheering not just for a student, but for someone who mattered to her. Something in me cracked. For a moment, I imagined a life where this was normal, where she was by my side, clapping with me, where Emma looked at her like she looked at me. It scared me how badly I wanted it. After the play, the classroom became chaos, parents taking photos, kids running around in costumes. I found Emma struggling to untie the ribbons on her dress. Hold still, princess, I said, fumbling with the knot. Dad, you're making it worse, she laughed. Here, let me. Lena's voice came from behind. She knelt down, her fingers deftly undoing the tangled ribbons. Emma sighed with relief. Thanks, Ms. Lena, Emma said, hugging her. Lena laughed softly. Anytime. I stood there, awkward, useless, watching her fix what I couldn't, watching Emma lean against her, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She fits here. Too easily. Too perfectly. As the room thinned out, I leaned down to Emma. Ready to go? Wait, she said quickly, turning to Lena. Will you come to our house sometime? Daddy makes pancakes. Well, they're kind of burned, but they're yummy. Emma, I started, heat rising in my face. Lena chuckled, her eyes flicking to mine before answering Emma. That sounds wonderful. Maybe someday. Emma clapped her hands like she'd won a prize. I forced a laugh. We'll see. As I helped Emma change into her regular clothes, I overheard two mothers whispering near the doorway. Did you know who she really is? One said, nodding toward Lena. The other leaned in. Of course. Lena Hayes, CEO of Hayes Group, multimillionaire. What's she even doing teaching here? I froze. CO? The words slammed into me. My chest tightened as their whispers faded into static. I looked at her, still kneeling beside Emma, still smiling gently like she belonged in this simple little room. And all I could think was, she doesn't belong here. Not with us. I was a man scraping by, working shifts, counting every dollar. And she was a woman with power, wealth, a life in a completely different world. On the walk home, Emma skipped along beside me, still buzzing with excitement. Dad, wasn't Ms. Lena amazing? She helped everyone. And she said she liked my crown. Yeah, I muttered, my voice flat. Emma glanced up at me. Why do you sound weird? I don't. Yes, you do, she said, narrowing her eyes like she could see straight through me. I forced a smile. I'm just tired, Em. But I wasn't tired. I was drowning. The following Monday, as parents gathered to sign up for the upcoming field trip, Lena's voice cut through my thoughts. Mr. Walker, we're looking for more volunteers, she said, handing me the form. I hesitated, staring at her hand, at the pen she was offering me. Emma tugged my sleeve. Do it, Dad. Please. I sighed, scribbling my name. All right, for you, Em. Lena's smile lingered on me for a beat too long. Thank you. It'll mean a lot to Emma. Her words were simple, professional, but something in her eyes said more. And even as I walked away, form still warm in my hand, all I could think was how far apart our worlds were. Yet how impossible it felt to stay away. The bus rattled down the road, and Emma pressed her face to the window, pointing at every cow and horse we passed. Dad, look. That one's staring right at me, she giggled. I grinned, shaking my head. Pretty sure it's just chewing grass, Em. Still counts, she declared proudly. Across the aisle, Lena laughed. She might be right. That cow looked like it had a personal vendetta. Emma burst out laughing. See, Dad? Ms. Lena agrees with me. I rolled my eyes playfully, but inside my chest tightened. The way Lena sat with us, her arm resting casually on the seat, her smile soft. It felt too natural, like she wasn't a visitor in our world, like she belonged. At the museum, I trailed behind as Emma darted from one exhibit to another, tugging Lena along. Ms. Lena, come see. Dinosaurs. Careful, Em, I said, jogging to catch up. She's fine, Lena reassured, crouching to read the sign beside Emma. This one's a triceratops. 3 horns. See? Emma's eyes sparkled. I wish I could ride one. Wouldn't fit in the car, I muttered. Lena laughed again. The sound made something stir inside me, something I buried. By lunch, the kids sat in a noisy cluster, and I found myself walking with Lena along the park path, sandwiches in hand. It's strange, she said softly, seeing you like this. Dad. I swallowed hard. Yeah, strange for me too, most days. She looked at me, serious now. What happened after we drifted apart? Her words hit me like a stone. I hadn't expected her to ask. I stared down at my sandwich, untouched. My wife happened, I said quietly. She wanted more than I could give. I thought working harder would fix it, but it just made me absent. By the time I realized it was too late, Lena's voice gentled. I didn't know. Yeah, I said, forcing a breath. Neither did I. Not until I was standing there with a baby in my arms, and no one else around. Silence stretched between us. Kids' laughter floated in the distance. But here, under the shade of the trees, it felt like another world. Lena finally spoke. I chased success. Every rung on the ladder. Every deal. Every late night. And I thought it would make me enough. But all it did was make me cold. People respected me. Sure. But no one really knew me. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment I forgot to breathe. She wasn't the untouchable CO now. She was just a woman, tired, worn, searching. Emma's voice broke the spell. Dad, Ms. Lena, come push me on the swings. We both laughed, almost guiltily, and walked back toward her. Emma ran to me first. You push me high, okay? Higher than anyone. Deal, I said, setting my hands on her back and sending her up toward the sky. Now, Ms. Lena. Emma shouted midair. Lena stepped beside me, placing her hands lightly next to mine as we both pushed together. Emma squealed with delight. She's fearless, Lena murmured. She got that from her mom, I said without thinking. Lena glanced at me, sympathy flickering across her face. The bus ride home was quieter. Most kids dozed off. Emma curled against my shoulder, crown of hair tickling my jaw. You're good with her, Lena whispered. I try, I said, my voice low. But most days, I'm just making up as I go. That's what makes it real, she said softly. I turned my head slightly. She was closer than I realized, her eyes searching mine. For a second, I thought she might say more. Instead, her hand shifted on the seat. Her fingers brushed against mine, just a light touch, deliberate but delicate. A spark shot straight through me. I didn't move. Couldn't. Emma stirred in her sleep, leaning heavier against me, grounding me. Lena's hand stayed there, warm, steady, saying everything her words couldn't. And I knew, whether I was ready or not, something between us had begun again. I couldn't stop replaying that touch on the bus. Her fingers brushing mine. Simple, light, but it felt like someone had struck a match inside my chest. By the time Emma and I got home, my thoughts were a mess. I made her dinner, tucked her in, went through all the motions, but my head wasn't here. It was still back there with Lena, in that quiet spark neither of us named. Dad. Emma's voice pulled me back as she sat cross-legged on the bed. Yeah, sweetheart. She tilted her head, studying me in that way she does, like she sees right through the walls I build. Why were you looking at Ms. Lena like that today? My stomach tightened. Like what? Emma shrugged, like she's special. I froze, caught in the blunt truth of a 7-year-old. You think so? Emma giggled. I know so. You never look at anyone like that. Not even Mrs. Harper at the store, when she gave you free cookies. I laughed, but it came out shaky. That was different. Emma leaned closer. Do you like her? Her question hit harder than I expected. She's my friend, I said slowly. She's your teacher. Emma squinted at me, unconvinced. But you smile more today. You don't smile like that a lot. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. How could I explain the storm inside me to a child? The pull toward Lena, the guilt of even feeling it, the weight of my wife's memory? Instead, I kissed Emma's forehead. Get some sleep, kiddo. Okay, she said, yawning. But before she closed her eyes, she whispered, Mom would want you to smile. My chest clenched. I turned off the light before she could see the tears welling. That night, sleep didn't come easy. When it finally did, I dreamed. She was there, my wife, standing in the doorway of our old kitchen, the one filled with sunlight. She didn't speak. She never did in these dreams. But her eyes, they weren't angry. They weren't sad. They were soft. I wanted to ask her if I was betraying her, if it was wrong to feel what I felt. But when I opened my mouth, no words came. Her silence was steady, almost peaceful, like she was handing me something I'd been too afraid to take. Her hand brushed the counter as if to say goodbye. And then she was gone, just like that. I woke with damp eyes and a hollow ache in my chest. Yet underneath it, A strange calm settled. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't wake with guilt pressing me down. The storm hadn't passed, but maybe it wasn't meant to. Maybe storms clear the air. Emma was already in the kitchen when I dragged myself out of bed. She was pouring cereal, half of it on the counter. "Morning, Dad," she said cheerfully. "You look lighter." "Do I?" I asked, rubbing my eyes. "Yeah. Did you dream of Mom again?" I hesitated, then nodded. "I did." Emma's smile was small but certain. "Then maybe she's happy for you." I blinked at her, stunned. "What do you mean?" "You know," she said, crunching on a spoonful of cereal. "Maybe she wants you to be happy, even if it's with Ms. Lena." Her innocence knocked the breath out of me. My daughter, the one I thought I was protecting, was the one guiding me forward. I reached over, brushing her hair back. "You're too smart for your own good. You know that?" Emma giggled. "Someone has to keep you in line." When I dropped her at school later that morning, I didn't just feel dread. I felt resolve. I couldn't keep dancing around this storm. I had to face it. I had to talk to Lena. As I watched Emma run to the school gates, her backpack bouncing, I whispered under my breath, "Okay, today, no more hiding." Because whether it ended in fire or healing, I owed it to myself and to Emma to know. I stood outside her classroom after dropping Emma off, my palms sweating. The hall was empty, the morning still settling in. Kids' voices echoed faintly from other rooms, but here was just me, my pulse pounding, my throat dry. No more hiding. I knocked softly. "Come in," Lena's voice called. She sat at her desk, glasses perched on her nose, paper scattered in front of her. When she looked up and saw me, something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, then something warmer. "Morning," she said gently. "Is everything okay?" I shut the door behind me. I need to talk to you. Not as Emma's dad, not as a parent. Her expression shifted. She set her pen down slowly. "Then how?" I took a shaky breath. "As me, just me." For a moment, silence stretched between us. I could hear the hum of the heater, the faint laughter of children down the hall. But inside, it felt like the world narrowed to just the two of us. "I don't even know where to start," I whispered. "The truth is, I'm scared, Lena." "Scared of what?" she asked softly. I met her gaze, my chest tightening. "Of feeling something for you again. Of letting myself want this. Because every time I look at you, I feel like I'm betraying her. My wife, the memory of her, everything we lost." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she didn't hide behind her professional calm. Her voice trembled. "You think I don't feel the same storm? You were my first love. You don't forget something like that. Not even after years. Not even when you try." I clenched my fists at my sides. "But you moved on. You built something incredible. You became this person who owns a world." Her laugh broke, bitter and raw. "And yet here I am, terrified of being alone in it. Terrified that all my success means nothing, because I never had the one thing I really wanted." Her eyes shined, and I saw her crack wide open. I sat down across from her, leaning forward. "You mean me?" She nodded, her voice breaking. "I never stopped wondering what if. What if I hadn't let you go? What if I had chosen differently? And now, here you are again in front of me, and I don't know how to breathe." I swallowed hard. The weight of her confession pressed against the weight I'd carried for years. I don't know how to breathe either. Every night, I wonder if I'm enough for Emma. And now, with you, I wonder if I'm even allowed to want this. To want you. Tears welled in her eyes. "You think I don't want the same? I'm a CEO, yes. I run a company. I stand on stages. But when it comes to this, to you, I'm just Lena. And I'm terrified that my world, my status, will crush anything real between us." I reached across the desk, my hand hovering before resting on hers. Her skin was warm, trembling. "Love isn't measured in power," I said quietly. "It isn't in money or titles. It's in presence, in showing up, in being there when it matters. That's all Emma needs. That's all I need. And maybe that's all you need too." Her lips parted, a sob catching in her throat. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. I stood, moving around the desk without thinking, and knelt beside her chair. Hey, look at me. She lowered her hand slowly, her face streaked with tears. I don't want perfection, I whispered. I don't want the CEO. I just want the girl who once laughed with me under the bleachers, who believed in me when no one else did. And maybe she's still here. Lena's breath hitched. She never left. We sat there, broken and unguarded, the years of distance melting in the silence between words. And then, without planning it, without thinking, I leaned closer. She leaned too. Our foreheads touched first, tentative, trembling. My heart thudded so loud I swore she could hear it. Tell me this is a mistake. I whispered. Her eyes met mine, glassy but certain. It isn't. And then her lips brushed mine, fragile, hesitant, almost afraid to exist. But it was real. It was real. When we finally pulled back, my chest felt hollowed and filled at the same time. Lena wiped at her cheeks, laughing through the tears. I can't believe this is happening, she said softly. Neither can I admitted, but maybe it's time it did. For the first time in years, the storm inside me eased. Not gone, but quieter. Because now, I wasn't carrying alone. Her lips were still warm on mine when the sound of small footsteps jolted me back to reality. I pulled away too quickly, guilt and panic flaring, but it was too late. Dad. Emma stood in the doorway, her backpack sliding off her shoulder, eyes wide with curiosity. My heart stopped. Emma, I stammered, standing too fast. What are you doing here? I thought you were with your class. She tilted her head, staring at me, then at Lena. A slow smile spread across her face. Were you just kissing Miss Lena? Blood rushed to my ears. Sweetheart, it's not. Are you going to marry her? Is she going to be my new mom? Her words hit me like a knife straight through. Lena gasped softly, her hand covering her mouth. I couldn't breathe. Emma, I said carefully, kneeling in front of her. That's not how this works. Why not? She asked, blinking innocently. You look happy. She makes you smile. I like her. She likes me. That's all we need, right? I swallowed hard, searching her face. She believed every word. She saw something so simple, so pure, while I was the one drowning in fear and guilt. Behind me, Lena whispered, maybe she's right. I turned, startled by the softness in her voice. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, but no shame, only hope. That night, after Emma fell asleep curled against me on the couch, her tiny hand resting on my chest, I stared at the ceiling in the dim light. Her question wouldn't stop echoing in my head. Is she going to be my new mom? Was I ready for that? Every part of me screamed out. What if I failed her again? What if I brought Lena in only to break Emma's heart? What if loving Lena meant betraying the woman I buried 3 years ago? But then Emma stirred in her sleep, mumbling softly, Don't be sad, Dad. I blinked hard, the weight pressing down, finally shifting. Healing didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean replacing. It meant carrying love forward, my wife's love, Emma's love, Lena's love, and building something new out of it. Not perfect, not painless, but real. The next day, I found Lena waiting in the school parking lot after dismissal, her hands clasped nervously. Emma ran ahead, throwing her arms around Lena's waist. You came. Emma beamed. Lena hugged her back, eyes glistening as she looked over at me. Of course I came. I walked up slowly, my chest pounding. Lena, can we talk? Both of you. Emma slipped her hand into mine, swinging it gently as we stood in a quiet corner of the lot. I took a deep breath. Emma asked me something yesterday. She asked if you were going to be her new mom. Emma giggled. I did. Lena's eyes widened, nervous. But I raised a hand, and I've been thinking about it. A lot. The truth is, I'm scared. Scared of moving on. Scared of messing up. Scared of hurting you both. Lena's lips trembled. I'm scared too. Scared I won't fit in your world. Scared I'll lose you again. I reached out, taking both of their hands in mine. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. But I don't want fear to decide for me anymore. I want to try. I want us to try. Not because it's easy, not because it's perfect, because it's worth it. Emma's smile lit up brighter than the afternoon sun. So does that mean yes? I laughed, tears sliding down my face. Yes, Em. It means yes. Lena's eyes overflowed then. She bent down, cupping Emma's cheeks. I don't know how to be anyone's mom, but I know I want to be here. For you, for him, for us. Emma hugged her so tightly Lena nearly toppled over. You already are, she said against her shoulder. I watched them, my throat thick, and for the first time in years, hope didn't scare me. It steadied me. As we left the lot, the three of us walked together. Emma between us, her small hands clasped in ours. The weight I carried for so long didn't vanish, but it didn't feel unbearable anymore. Because now, I wasn't carrying it alone. The storm had broken. The air was clear. And tomorrow we'd begin again. The sound of Emma's laughter filled the kitchen, a melody I never thought I'd hear this way again. Dad, you burned the toast, she giggled, pointing at the charred edges. I held up the blackened slice like it was a crime scene. It's not burned. It's extra crispy. Lena shook her head, pouring juice into Emma's glass. If that's crispy, then the sun's just a little warm. Emma burst out laughing again, and I found myself laughing with her. Not because the joke was that good, but because the weight I used to carry didn't feel so heavy anymore. Life was different now. Not perfect. Never perfect. But lighter. I watched Emma smear jelly across her toast, missing half the bread, and I felt something twist in my chest. Something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Mom, can you pass the butter? Emma asked casually. The word slipped out so naturally, she didn't even notice. But Lena froze, the butter knife in her hand trembling. Her eyes went glassy. Emma blinked at her. What? Did I say something wrong? Lena's lips parted, but no words came out. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I reached over, covering her hand with mine. No, Em, you didn't say anything wrong at all. Emma's little brow furrowed. Then why is she crying? I cleared my throat, feeling my own eyes burn. Because sometimes when your heart is really full, it leaks out of your eyes. Emma tilted her head, then grinned. So that means you're happy crying? Lena let out a shaky laugh and pulled Emma into her arms. Yeah, sweetheart. Very happy. I leaned back in my chair, watching them. Months ago, I was terrified of this moment, afraid of what it meant to move forward, afraid I betrayed a love I lost. But I finally understood. Fatherhood was never about getting all right. It was about showing up, about loving enough to fight through the pain, the fear, the nights when I thought I couldn't do it anymore. And love was never about replacing what was gone. It was about carrying it with us, letting it shape what we built next. Dad, Emma's voice pulled me back. Are you going to cry too? I rubbed at my eyes quickly. Nope. Must be the onions. She giggled. There aren't any onions. Then it must be the toast smoke. I shot back, lifting the ruined slice. Lena rolled her eyes but smiled, brushing her cheek against Emma's hair. Both of you are ridiculous. Ridiculously in love with you, I said quietly. Her gaze caught mine, steady and warm. And I love you both, more than I ever thought I could. Emma squeezed our hands together across the table. Then we're good forever, right? I looked at them, my daughter, my partner, my family, and I didn't need to think twice. Yeah, Em, we're good forever. The house echoed with laughter again, and this time I didn't just hear it. I believed it.